When 10-year-old Zuri Carter spots basketball legend Michael Jordan with his broken-down Mustang, she doesn't ask for an autograph. She offers to help fix his car. Using the special mechanical knowledge her late grandfather taught her, Zuri quickly solves the problem that professional mechanics couldn't figure out. But as Michael thanks her, he notices something strange on her finger. A mysterious ring that seems to glow with an unusual blue light whenever she touches the engine. Zuri Carter skipped along the cracked sidewalk, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. School was over for the day, and the warm Chicago afternoon made her happy. She took the long way home, the route that passed by all the fancy car dealerships. Zuri loved cars more than anything. "When I grow up, I'm gonna fix cars just like Grandpa did," she said to herself, touching the strange metal ring on her finger. The ring was too big for her small hand, but she wore it anyway, wrapped with colorful yarn to keep it from falling off. As Zuri rounded the corner onto Maple Street, something caught her eye. A bright red car was pulled over on the side of the road, its hood up. Steam rose from the engine like a tiny cloud. "Whoa, a classic Mustang," Zuri whispered. Grandpa Elijah had taught her all about Mustangs. Before he went to heaven last year, this one looked like a 67 or 68 model, with the special fastback roof that made it extra cool. The driver stood beside the car, talking on his phone. He was very tall, wearing expensive-looking clothes and fancy sunglasses. Something about him seemed familiar. Zuri walked closer, curious about the car. Maybe she could see what was wrong with it. Grandpa always said she had magic hands when it came to engines. The tall man ended his call with a frustrated sigh. "Roadside assistance won't be here for an hour," he muttered. That's when Zuri recognized him. Her eyes grew wide as basketballs. "You're Michael Jordan," she blurted out. The man turned, surprised to see a little girl with puffy ponytails staring up at him. He took off his sunglasses and smiled. "That's what they tell me," he said with a chuckle. "You a basketball fan?" Zuri shook her head. "Not really. My mom loves you, though. She has a poster of you in our kitchen." She pointed at the steaming car. "What's wrong with your Mustang?" Michael Jordan seemed surprised that the little girl knew what kind of car he was driving. Most kids only knew him from basketball. "It just died while I was driving," he explained. "Started making a weird noise, then steam everywhere." Zuri set her backpack down on the sidewalk. "Can I look?" "My grandpa taught me all about cars, especially Mustangs. He said they were the most beautiful cars ever made." Michael hesitated, then shrugged. "Sure, why not? Couldn't hurt to have another opinion." Zuri approached the car carefully. The engine was still hot, so she didn't touch anything at first. She just looked, remembering everything Grandpa had taught her. "Your grandpa knows a lot about cars?" Michael asked, watching her. "New," Zuri corrected quietly. "He died last year. But yes, he was the best mechanic in Chicago. Everyone brought their cars to him." "I'm sorry to hear that," Michael said. Zuri pointed toward the front of the engine. "I think your problem is right there. See how the battery terminals look all crusty and green? And that connection is super loose." Michael leaned in to look where she was pointing. "You're right. How did you spot that so fast?" Zuri smiled proudly. "Grandpa said always check the simple stuff first. People make things too complicated." She rolled up the sleeves of her school uniform. "I can fix it if you have some tools." "You're going to fix my car?" Michael asked, trying not to laugh. "Unless you want to wait an hour for the tow truck," Zuri replied with a serious face. Michael opened the trunk and pulled out a small emergency tool kit. Knock yourself out, but be careful. Zuri took the tools and got to work. Her small hands were perfect for reaching into tight spaces. As she worked, she explained what she was doing. This green stuff is corrosion. It blocks the electricity from flowing right. We need to clean it off and tighten this connection. She carefully loosened the terminal, cleaned it with a rag from the kit, and reattached it. The battery looks pretty new, so that's good. Michael watched in amazement as the little girl worked with the confidence of a professional mechanic. That's when he noticed something unusual on her finger. A strange ring that seemed to have a faint glow whenever she touched the engine. "Try starting it now," Zuri said, stepping back from the car. Michael got into the driver's seat and turned the key. The Mustang roared to life immediately, purring like it had never had any trouble at all. "Unbelievable," Michael exclaimed, getting out of the car. "You fixed it!" Zuri beamed with pride. It was just a loose connection, no big deal. "What's your name, car whisperer?" Michael asked. "I'm Zuri Carter. I'm 10 years old, and I live over on Westview Avenue with my mom." "Well, Zuri Carter, you just saved me a lot of time and trouble." Michael reached for his wallet. "Let me give you something for your help." Zuri shook her head. "Grandpa said never take money for helping someone with their car. He said, that's what neighbors do. They help each other." Michael put his wallet away, impressed by the little girl's character. "Your grandpa sounds like a wise man. How about I give you a ride home instead? It's getting late, and I bet your mom is wondering where you are." Zuri's eyes lit up. "Really? In the Mustang? That would be awesome!" As she picked up her backpack, Michael noticed the ring again. It definitely had a strange glow, though maybe it was just catching the afternoon sunlight. When Zuri climbed into the passenger seat, she ran her hand lovingly across the leather dashboard. "This is the coolest car ever," she whispered. "Grandpa would flip if he knew I was riding in a classic Mustang with Michael Jordan." Michael smiled as he started the engine again. "So, which way to Westview Avenue?" As they drove, Zuri pointed out everything she knew about the Mustang. The special gauges, the wooden steering wheel, the unique shifter. Michael was amazed by how much she knew. "You know more about my car than I do," he admitted. Zuri grinned. "Grandpa said knowledge is the best tool in your box." And when they arrived at Zuri's apartment building, a worried-looking woman was standing outside. When she saw the shiny red Mustang pull up with her daughter inside, her mouth fell open. "That's my mom," Zuri said, waving. "She's gonna freak when she sees who's driving me." Michael Jordan parked the car and got out to meet Zuri's mother. As Zuri hopped out of the passenger side, the ring on her finger caught the late afternoon sun, flashing with an unusual brightness that Michael couldn't help but notice. There was something special about this little girl and that mysterious ring. He just didn't know what yet. Tiana Carter's eyes widened as Michael Jordan stepped out of the shiny red Mustang. She froze. On the sidewalk, unable to believe what she was seeing. "Mom!" Zuri called, waving excitedly. "Look who gave me a ride home!" Tiana smoothed her nurse's scrubs nervously. "Zuri, what in the world? I was worried sick when you didn't come straight home." Michael extended his hand. "Ms. Carter, I'm Michael Jordan. Your daughter just saved me from being stranded with a broken-down car." Tiana shook his hand in a daze. "I'm sorry. My daughter." "Did what now?" Zuri bounced on her toes. His Mustang broke down, Mom. It had a corroded battery terminal and a loose connection. I fixed it just like Grandpa taught me. Tiana looked from her daughter to the basketball legend and back again. I don't know whether to be proud or concerned that my 10-year-old is approaching strangers on the street, even if they are famous. I completely understand, Michael said with a warm smile. If it helps, your daughter is incredibly talented. I've never seen anyone diagnose engine trouble so quickly. Zuri beamed at the compliment, twisting the unusual ring on her finger. Once again, Michael noticed a faint glow, like metal catching sunlight. But they were standing in the shadow of the apartment building. Where did she learn all that car knowledge? Michael asked. Tiana's expression softened. From her grandfather, my father-in-law, Elijah. He was a mechanic with his own shop until he passed last year. The best mechanic in Chicago, Zuri added proudly. Everyone said so. Tiana checked her watch. I've got to get back to work for my evening shift. Zuri, Mrs. Washington is expecting you in 5B for homework time. Actually, Michael said, I'd like to ask you both something. Could I have a quick minute? Tiana hesitated but nodded. Just a minute. I can't be late. I'm restoring some classic cars as a hobby, Michael explained. After seeing what Zuri can do, I could really use her expertise on my prize, 1967 Mustang Shelby GT500. With your permission, of course. Zuri gasped, grabbing her mother's arm. A Shelby GT500? For real? Mom, that's the holy grail of Mustangs. Grandpa always wanted to work on one. Tiana looked uncertain. Mr. Jordan, that's very kind, but... Please call me Michael, he interrupted. And I'd pay for her time, of course. It's not about money, Tiana said. It's just, she's 10. I understand, Michael replied. Maybe you could come too. I have a professional mechanic who supervises everything. It would be completely safe. Zuri looked up at her mother with pleading eyes. Mom, please? It would be like finishing. Grandpa's dream. Tiana sighed, seeing the passion in her daughter's face. I'd need to see this garage first, and it would have to be when I'm not working. Absolutely, Michael agreed. How about this weekend? Saturday morning? As they exchanged contact information, Michael couldn't help noticing the ring on Zuri's finger again. It seemed to pulse brighter when she talked about her grandfather. That's an interesting ring, he finally commented. I've never seen anything like it. Zuri held up her hand. The ring was made of a strange silvery metal with tiny blue lines running through it, like circuits. It was Grandpa's. He gave it to me before he died. Said it was special. It looks special, Michael agreed. Almost like it. Glows sometimes. Zuri quickly put her hand down. Just reflects light funny. Grandpa was into weird stuff. Tiana checked her watch again. I really have to go. Zuri, straight to Mrs. Washington's. Michael, thank you for bringing her home. My pleasure, Michael said. I'll call you about Saturday. As Tiana hurried down the street toward the bus stop, Zuri lingered by the Mustang. Is it really a Shelby GT500? She asked quietly. Michael nodded. Original engine. Needs lots of work. Your grandpa would have loved it. Zuri's face lit up. He talked about them all the time. Said they were the perfect mix of beauty and beast. He was right, Michael said. Hey, what exactly did your grandpa do before he was a mechanic? He seems to have known a lot. Something flickered in Zuri's eyes. caution, perhaps. The ring dimmed slightly. "Just a mechanic, as far as I know," she said with a shrug. "Mom says he used to work for some big company, but he never talked about it." Michael nodded, not pushing further. "Well, I should let you get to Mrs. Washington's. Don't want you getting in trouble." "Thanks for the ride," Zuri said, starting toward the building entrance. She turned back suddenly. "Did you always love basketball, even when you were little like me?" Michael smiled. "From the first time I touched a ball. Just like you with cars, I guess. Grandpa said when you find something that makes your heart happy, that's what you should do forever." "Your grandpa was a wise man," Michael said. As Zuri disappeared into the building, Michael sat in his Mustang, thinking. There was something about that little girl and her connection to cars that went beyond normal talent. And that ring. He couldn't shake the feeling there was more to it than metal and design. That night, as Michael researched classic car restoration techniques, he found himself typing Elijah Carter Mechanic Chicago into a search engine. Nothing unusual came up, just a few mentions of a well-respected local repair shop that had closed last year. But when he added engineer to the search, an old newspaper article appeared. The grainy photo showed a much younger Elijah Carter, standing with a team of scientists. The caption read, "Breakthrough team at Quantum Dynamics receives prestigious grant for revolutionary energy research." Michael leaned closer to his screen. On Elijah Carter's finger was a ring, the same strange ring his granddaughter now wore. What exactly had Elijah Carter created before becoming just a mechanic? And how was his granddaughter connected to it all? Saturday morning arrived with golden sunshine streaming through the windows of apartment 54 C. Zuri had barely slept. Today she would see a real Shelby GT 500, the car her grandpa had called "thy crown jewel of American muscle." She had polished her special ring until it gleamed, wanting to bring a piece of grandpa with her to this special moment. The doorbell rang at exactly 9 o'clock. Zuri raced to answer it, but Tiana got there, first straightening her blouse nervously. "Good morning," Michael Jordan said, standing in their hallway looking much more casual than he had in his business clothes. Today he wore jeans and a simple polo shirt. "Ready for some car restoration?" Tiana nodded, still looking uncertain. "Zuri hasn't talked about anything else for days. Mom made me promise not to be a pest," Zuri added, bouncing on her toes. Michael laughed. "Car enthusiasts are never pests to other car enthusiasts. I brought something for you." He handed Zuri a small box. Inside was a set of child-sized mechanics, gloves and a name patch that read Zuri Jr. Restoration Specialist. "For real?" Zuri gasped, immediately trying on the gloves. "My mechanic Tony had them made." "He's excited to meet you," Michael said. He turned to Tiana. "The garage is about 20 minutes away. You can follow in your car if you'd prefer." "We'll ride with you," Tiana decided. Zuri would be disappointed if she didn't get to ride in the Mustang again. The drive to Michael's garage took them to a quiet industrial area outside the city. They pulled up to a building that looked ordinary from the outside. But when Michael opened the large bay doors, Zuri's mouth fell open in shock. Inside were 7 classic cars in various states of restoration. Bright lights illuminated every corner of the immaculate space. Tools lined the walls in perfect order. And in the center sat a partially disassembled dark green Mustang. "Is that it?" Zuri whispered, pointing to the green car. "The Shelby?" Michael nodded. "One of only 2,048 ever made. This one needs a lot of work. An older man with gray hair wiped his hands on a rag and approached them. "You must be the car genius I've been hearing about," he said to Zuri. "I'm Tony. Been fixing cars since before your mom was born." "This is amazing," Tiana said, looking around. "I had no idea you were so serious about cars." "Everyone needs a hobby," Michael replied. "Basketball was my job, but this is my passion." Tony led them to the Shelby. "We're having trouble with the transmission. It's original, but something's not connecting right." Zuri walked slowly around the car, taking in every detail. Her small hand touched the fender. Gently, almost reverently. "Grandpa would have loved this," she whispered. The ring on her finger pulsed faintly, and Michael noticed. "Want to look under the hood?" Tony asked. For the next hour, Zuri examined the engine with Tony's guidance. Michael watched as the little girl asked question after question, demonstrating knowledge that surprised even the veteran mechanic. "Where did you learn all this?" Tony asked, impressed. "My grandpa," Zuri answered simply. As she reached deep into the engine compartment, her ring caught on something. "Careful with that jewelry," Tony warned. "Might want to take it off when working." Zuri quickly tucked her hand away. "I never take it off. I promised, Grandpa." Michael caught Tiana's eye. The ring seems important to her. Tiana lowered her voice. It was Elijah's most prized possession. He never explained where it came from, just made Zuri promise to always keep it safe. It's harmless, just a sentimental thing. But Michael wasn't so sure. That glow wasn't normal, and now he'd seen the newspaper article linking Elijah to energy research. When Tony took Tiana to show her some vintage car magazines, Michael knelt beside Zuri. "That ring is pretty special, huh?" he asked casually. Zuri nodded, still focused on the engine. "Grandpa made it. He was super smart." "Made it? That's impressive. Was he a jeweler too?" Zuri's eyes flicked up to Michael's, suddenly cautious. "No, just good with his hands." She quickly changed the subject. "I think I see the transmission problem. This connector is worn down. See?" She pointed deep into the engine. Michael let the subject drop, but his curiosity grew. Later, as they worked together loosening a stubborn bolt, Zuri grew frustrated. "Come on, you stupid thing," she muttered. Suddenly, the wrench Zuri was holding slipped from her hand. Instead of clattering to the floor, it froze in midair for a split second, just long enough for Michael to notice, before falling. The ring glowed brightly for a moment, then faded to normal. Zuri quickly grabbed the wrench, avoiding Michael's eyes. "Whoops! Butterfingers," she said, with a forced laugh. Early afternoon, they had made significant progress on the transmission. Tony was openly impressed with Zuri's help. And even Tiana seemed to be enjoying herself, looking through photo albums of the car's restorations. "We should probably head home," Tiana finally said, checking her watch. "I have the night shift, Ahiu, at Utitiurs, the hospital." "Before you go," Michael said, "I have a proposal. The Shelby needs a lot of work, and Zuri has a gift for this. Would you both consider coming back regularly? Weekends, maybe after school? Sometimes I could arrange transportation." Zuri's eyes lit up. "Mom, please! This is the coolest thing ever!" Tiana hesitated. "It's very generous, but I don't want to impose." "It's not an imposition," Michael insisted. "Tony and I need the help, and Zuri clearly loves it here." "I do have to work a lot of weekends," Tiana admitted. Finding childcare is always a challenge. Then it's settled, Michael said. Zuri can help us with the Shelby when you're working. We'll make sure she gets homework done too. On the drive back to their apartment, Zuri couldn't stop talking about the cars. Michael noticed the ring glowing steadily the entire time, pulsing brighter whenever she mentioned her grandfather. As they said goodbye, Michael made a decision. He needed to learn more about Elijah Carter, quantum dynamics, and that mysterious ring. Something extraordinary was happening, and somehow, a 10-year-old girl was at the center of it all. Over the next 3 weekends, Zuri became a regular at Michael's garage. Every Saturday morning, Michael would pick her up while Tiana headed to her hospital shift. By Sunday evening, the Shelby was making remarkable progress. "You've got magic in those fingers, kid," Tony said one afternoon as Zuri perfectly aligned a difficult engine part on her first try. Zuri just smiled, twisting her grandfather's ring. "Grandpa always said I had the touch." When Tony stepped away to take a phone call, Michael knelt beside Zuri at the workbench. "You know, I've been reading about mechanical engineering," he said casually. "Did your grandpa ever mention something called quantum mechanics?" Zuri's hands froze for a second. "Not really," she answered, suddenly very interested in the wrench she was holding. "It's fascinating stuff," Michael continued. "Scientists think tiny particles can be in two places at once, or even affect each other from far away. Almost like magic." Zuri said nothing, but her ring pulsed with a soft blue light. "I found an old article about your grandpa," Michael admitted. "Before, he was a mechanic. He worked for a company called Quantum Dynamics. Did you know that?" Zuri bit her lip. "Mom mentioned it once. Said Grandpa was super smart, worked on secret stuff before I was born." The article showed a picture of him wearing a ring just like yours. Zuri's shoulders slumped slightly. "Are you mad I didn't tell you? Mom says we're not supposed to talk about Grandpa's old job or the ring." Michael shook his head. "Not mad at all. Just curious. Sometimes when you're working, I see the ring glow, and things happen." "What kind of things?" Zuri asked, not meeting his eyes. "Like last week, when you couldn't reach that bolt inside the transmission. You pointed at it, and your ring glowed. Bright blue. The bolt turned by itself, just a quarter turn, but enough for you to grab it with the pliers." Zuri's eyes widened. "You saw that?" "And the week before, when that heavy toolbox was about to fall on your foot. It stopped in midair for a split second before landing gently." Zuri looked at her ring, then up at Michael. "Grandpa made me promise not to tell anyone. He said people wouldn't understand." Michael sat back on his heels. "Try me. I'm a pretty understanding guy." Zuri took a deep breath. "Sometimes, when I'm working on cars, I can hear Grandpa's voice in my head, telling me what to do, and the ring gets warm and glowy. Then, things move or fix themselves. Not big things, just little helps." She twisted the ring nervously. "Grandpa said it was our secret, that some people might want to take the ring if they knew what it could do." "What exactly can it do?" Michael asked gently. Zuri shrugged. "I'm not really sure. It's different each time. Mostly it helps me fix things. Sometimes I can see inside engines, like X-ray vision, but just for a second. Mom thinks I'm making it up." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "Does your mom know about the ring's abilities?" "I tried to tell her once," Zuri said. "She said I have a big imagination. She thinks the ring is just a weird souvenir from Grandpa's science days. Tony returned from his call, ending their private conversation. But all afternoon, Michael watched as Zuri worked on the Shelby. Now that he was looking for it, he noticed patterns. The earring glowed brighter when she was concentrating hard. Small. Parts seemed to slide into place, with impossible precision. Once, when she couldn't quite reach a dropped screw, it rolled toward her fingers, as if pulled by a magnet. That evening, after driving Zuri home, Michael stopped at a public library. He found old science magazines from 15 years ago, searching for mentions of quantum dynamics. There wasn't much, but one small article caught his eye. Quantum dynamics discontinues. Consumer energy project amid controversy. The article mentioned unexplained energy fluctuations and ethical concerns, but gave few details. At the bottom was a quote from lead researcher Dr. Elijah Carter. "Some technologies aren't ready for the world, or perhaps the world isn't ready for them." When Michael arrived at the garage the next morning, Zuri was already there with Tony. He had picked her up early because Tiana had an emergency shift. "Look what I figured out," Zuri called excitedly. She held a complex transmission part that had been giving them trouble for weeks. "If we just adjust this connector and add a little reinforcement here, it'll work perfectly with the original parts." Tony shook his head, in amazement. "Kid, I've been working on cars for 30 years, and I never would have thought of that." As Zuri explained her solution, Michael noticed she kept touching her ring, which pulsed with steady blue light. Was the ring somehow giving her mechanical insights or amplifying her natural talent? Later, when Tony went for lunch, Michael found Zuri sitting in the Shelby's driver's seat, pretending to drive. "Vroom! Just like you dreamed, Grandpa," she was saying to herself. She looked up, embarrassed to see Michael. "Sorry, just playing." "No problem," he said, leaning against the door. "So, you talk to your grandpa often?" Zuri nodded. "Sometimes I feel like he's still here, helping me." "And the ring helps too?" She looked at it thoughtfully. "Grandpa said it's a tool, not a toy. That it finds things that are broken and helps fix them." "Did he tell you how it works?" Zuri's face scrunched in concentration. "Something about quantum entanglement? And how thoughts are energy too?" "I didn't understand all of it." "A tool that responded to thoughts. A device that could manipulate physical objects." Michael was beginning to understand why Elijah Carter had walked away from his research and hidden his creation in plain sight. On the finger of his granddaughter. "Zuri Carter, are you paying attention?" Ms. Dawson's voice snapped Zuri back to the present. She had been sketching transmission designs in her math notebook, instead of working on fractions. "Sorry, Ms. Dawson," Zuri mumbled, quickly flipping her notebook shut. "This is the third time today I've caught you daydreaming," her teacher said with a frown. "See me after class." A few desks away, Jasmine Miller smirked. "Ooh, Zuri's in trouble," she whispered loudly, enough for others to hear. Zuri sank lower in her seat. Ever since she had mentioned working on cars with Michael Jordan, Jasmine and her friends had been extra mean. They didn't believe her, calling her a liar and making up stories about her. It didn't help that Zuri couldn't bring anyone to the garage or show pictures. Michael was very private about his car collection. When the bell rang, Zuri reluctantly approached Ms. Dawson's desk. "What's going on with you lately?" Ms. Dawson asked, holding up Zuri's notebook. "These aren't math notes." Zuri looked at her drawings of the Shelby's transmission. "It's for a car I'm helping fix on weekends. a 1967 Mustang Shelby GT500. Ms. Dawson raised an eyebrow. You're 10 years old, Zuri. I know you're creative, but it's true, Zuri insisted. I'm helping Michael Jordan fix his car collection. My grandpa was a mechanic, and he taught me everything. Michael Jordan, the basketball player? Ms. Dawson looked skeptical. Zuri, I'm concerned about these stories you're telling, and your grades are slipping. They're not stories, Zuri said, frustration building. Her ring began to warm on her finger. I really am helping him. Ask my mom. I think I will, Ms. Dawson said, reaching for the phone. I'd like to schedule a parent-teacher conference. But Mom's working double shifts all week at the hospital. She's super busy and tired, Zuri protested. Ms. Dawson dialed anyway. Hello, Ms. Carter. This is Ms. Dawson from Roosevelt Elementary. I'd like to discuss Zuri's recent behavior. Zuri felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment and anger. Her ring grew hotter, pulsing with bright blue light beneath her sleeve. No one believed her. No one understood how special her connection to cars was. No one except Michael and her grandpa. It's not a story, she said loudly, slapping her hand on the desk. A sudden burst of energy shot from her ring, invisible to the naked eye but powerful enough to knock over a tall stack of books on Ms. Dawson's desk. They crashed to the floor, papers flying everywhere. Ms. Dawson jumped in surprise, nearly dropping the phone. I'll have to call you back, she said, quickly, hanging up. I didn't touch them, Zuri said, backing away from the fallen books. But she knew what had happened. The ring had responded to her emotions, just like it sometimes did in the garage when she was frustrated or excited. Zuri, what is going on with you? Ms. Dawson asked, looking genuinely concerned as she gathered the scattered papers. Nothing, Zuri mumbled, hiding her hand in her pocket. The ring was still warm. Can I go now? I'll do better on my fractions tomorrow. Ms. Dawson sighed. Your mother agreed to meet tomorrow after school. Please be here at 3:30. Zuri nodded and hurried out of the classroom. Instead of heading to the school bus, she made a split-second decision. She would go to Michael's garage. He believed her about the ring. He would understand what had just happened. She didn't have money for the city bus, so she walked the whole way, taking almost 2 hours. By the time she reached the industrial area where the garage was located, the afternoon sun was already getting low in the sky. Zuri punched in the security code Michael had given her for emergencies and slipped inside. The garage was quiet. No one was there. She sat in the Shelby's driver's seat, her safe place, and finally let herself cry. What's happening to me, Grandpa? She whispered, looking at the ring. It pulsed softly, as if in answer. I can't control it sometimes. She didn't hear the door open or notice Michael until he was standing beside the car, concern etched on his face. Zuri, what are you doing here? Isn't it a school day? Zuri wiped her tears quickly. Something happened at school. The ring, it knocked books over when I got mad. I didn't mean to. Michael knelt beside the car door. Your mom called me, worried, sick. The school called her, saying you never got on the bus. She's looking everywhere for you. Fresh tears welled up. I'm sorry. I just needed to come here. No one at school believes me about helping you. They call me a liar. And now the ring is doing weird things when I get upset. As if to demonstrate, the ring glowed brightly, making the car keys on the workbench across the room vibrate slightly. Michael watched, fascinated and concerned. We need to call your mom right now. Then we'll talk about what's happening with the ring. I think it's responding to your emotions, getting stronger as you get older. As Michael reached for his phone, Zuri twisted the ring nervously. Am I in big trouble? Pretty big, he admitted. But we'll figure this out together. The ring, school, all of it. I promise. The ring pulsed once, brightly, as if sealing. That promise. Tiana arrived at the garage 20 minutes later, her nurse's scrubs wrinkled and her eyes wild with worry. Zuri Carter, she exclaimed, rushing to hug her daughter. Do you have any idea how scared I was? The school called saying you never got on the bus, and no one knew where you were. Zuri hung her head. I'm sorry, Mom. Thank you for calling me, Tiana said to Michael. I don't know what I would have done if... She stopped, taking a deep breath. Zuri, why would you come all the way here instead of going home? Michael stepped in. I think we all need to talk. Would you like to stay for dinner? Tony made his famous lasagna before he left. Tiana hesitated, then nodded. I guess we could. My shift is over anyway. Michael led them to a small break room at the back of the garage. While he heated up the lasagna, Zuri sat quietly, turning her ring around and around on her finger. Ms. Dawson wants to meet with you tomorrow, Tiana said. She says you've been distracted in class, telling stories about working here. They're not stories, Zuri protested, but no one believes me. It's not just that, Tiana continued. Your math scores are dropping. You used to love math. I still do, Zuri mumbled, but cars are more interesting. Grandpa said, Your grandpa would want you to do well in school, Tiana interrupted. Michael set 3 plates of lasagna on the table. Maybe there's a way to connect Zuri's love of cars with her schoolwork. Mechanics involves a lot of math. They ate in awkward silence for a few minutes. Michael noticed how Zuri kept her ringed hand under the table, as if hiding it from her mother. Tiana, Michael said carefully, I hope you don't mind me asking, but I've been curious about Zuri's grandfather. She mentions him constantly. Tiana's expression softened. Elijah was special. He practically raised Zuri while I worked. They were inseparable. He taught me everything about cars, Zuri added proudly. And from what I understand, he wasn't always a mechanic? Michael prompted. Tiana set down her fork. No, he wasn't. She looked at Zuri. Your grandfather was brilliant. He had a PhD in physics, worked for a big technology company called Quantum Dynamics. They developed experimental energy sources. Zuri's eyes widened. You never told me that part. You were younger, Tiana said, and Elijah preferred not to talk about that time in his life. He left suddenly, about a year before you were born, started the mechanic shop instead. Why did he leave? Michael asked. Tiana shrugged. He never said exactly. Just that some of their research was heading in directions he wasn't comfortable with. Elijah believed technology should help people, not control them. Michael nodded thoughtfully. And the ring? Was that from his research days? Tiana's eyes narrowed slightly. Yes, it was his most prized possession, some kind of prototype he developed. Zuri looked up. Mom, there's something about the ring I need to tell you. Oh? Tiana said, raising an eyebrow. Zuri took a deep breath. Sometimes, when I wear it, strange things happen. Like today at school, when I got upset, it knocked books off Ms. Dawson's desk without me touching them. Tiana sighed. Zuri, we've talked about this. The ring is just a piece of metal. It doesn't have special powers. But it does, Zuri insisted. Tell her, Michael. You've seen it glow and move things. Michael hesitated, caught between mother and daughter. I have noticed some unusual occurrences, he admitted. The ring does seem to emit light sometimes. It has electronic components, Tiana explained. Elijah said it was a failed experiment in energy storage. The glow is probably just residual battery power. It's more than that, Zuri said, her voice rising. I can hear Grandpa sometimes, in my head, telling me how to fix things. And look, she held out her hand, the ring glowing bright blue and focused on the salt shaker. It slid across the table a few inches. Tiana's face went pale. How did you do that? It's the ring, Zuri said. Grandpa made it special. Tiana turned to Michael. You've seen this before? Why didn't you tell me? I wasn't sure what I was seeing at first, Michael said carefully, and I didn't want to overstep. But yes, I've seen the ring respond to Zuri's emotions and thoughts, especially when she's working on the Shelby. Tiana closed her eyes for a moment. There's something I never told you, Zuri. Something your grandfather made me promise not to share until you were older. She opened her eyes, looking directly at her daughter. The ring wasn't just any experiment. It was Elijah's life's work, a device that could translate thought energy into physical action. Like telekinesis? Michael asked. Tiana nodded slowly. Something like that. Quantum dynamics wanted to develop it for industrial applications, maybe even military uses, but Elijah saw something more personal in it. He believed the technology could help people connect on a deeper level, maybe even connect with loved ones who had passed on. Zuri's eyes filled with tears. Is that why I can hear him sometimes? I don't know, baby, Tiana said softly. Elijah never fully explained how it worked, even to me. He just said that when he was gone, the ring would help you remember him, that it would find its way to the right hands someday. But why is it getting stronger? Zuri asked. Before, I could only hear Grandpa when I was fixing cars. Now, things move when I'm upset or really happy. You're growing, Michael suggested. Maybe your connection to the ring is growing too. Tiana looked worried. Is it safe? Elijah never mentioned the ring doing things like moving objects. I think it depends on Zuri, Michael said. The ring seems to respond to her emotions and intentions. When she's calm and focused, like when she's working on the Shelby, the effects are controlled and helpful. It's only when she gets upset that things happen unpredictably. Zuri twisted the ring nervously. I'm scared, Mom. What if it gets too strong? What if I can't control it? Tiana pulled her daughter into a hug. We'll figure it out together. Your grandfather wouldn't have given you something dangerous. Michael watched the ring pulse gently between them, its light softer now, almost comforting. Maybe, he suggested, the best way to understand the ring is to learn more about Elijah's work. Did he leave any notes, research papers, anything that might explain what he was trying to create? Tiana nodded slowly. There's a box of his things in our storage unit. I never went through it all. It seemed too painful after he died. Can we look at it? Zuri asked eagerly. Please? I want to understand what Grandpa made. Tomorrow, Tiana promised, after the meeting with Ms. Dawson. As they drove home, in Michael's car, Zuri fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from the day's events. The ring glowed softly in the darkness, a gentle blue pulse like a heartbeat. Do you think she'll be okay? Tiana asked quietly. Michael glanced at the sleeping child in his rearview mirror. I think she's stronger than we know. Just like her grandfather. The parent-teacher conference with Ms. Dawson went better than expected. After hearing about Zuri's unique opportunity to learn from Michael Jordan, the teacher suggested incorporating her car restoration work into school projects. She could document the Shelby restoration for science class, Ms. Dawson proposed, and use the measurements and calculations for real-world math applications. Tiana looked relieved. That sounds perfect. After school, Michael drove Tiana and Zuri to their storage unit across town. Unit number 47 was small and dusty, filled with cardboard boxes labeled in neat handwriting. "These are all Grandpa's things?" Zuri asked, looking around in wonder. Tiana nodded. "Most of his personal belongings. I kept his tools at home, but everything else is here." They began sorting through boxes. Most contained ordinary items, books, clothes, photographs. Then Zuri found a heavy metal case tucked behind a stack of boxes. It had a strange lock with no keyhole. "Mom, look at this." Tiana examined the case. "I've never seen this before." Zuri touched the lock with her finger, and her ring pulsed with blue light. With a soft click, the lock opened. "How did you do that?" Michael asked, amazed. Zuri shrugged. "I just wanted it to open." And it did. Inside the case were notebooks filled with diagrams, equations, and notes in Elijah's handwriting. Most of it was too technical for Zuri to understand, but Michael flipped through the pages with growing interest. "So, this is incredible," he said. "Your father-in-law was working on something revolutionary, a way to convert thought energy into physical action using quantum entanglement." "In English, please," Tiana said with a small smile. Michael pointed to a diagram. He believed that thoughts have energy, actual, measurable energy. This device, the ring, somehow captures that energy and uses it to affect physical objects. Zuri looked at her ring with new understanding. "So, when I think about moving something, the ring translates that thought into action," Michael finished. "But there's more. According to these notes, Elijah designed the ring to respond specifically to certain brainwave patterns. It looks like he calibrated it to his own." "And since Zuri is his granddaughter," Tiana began. "Their brainwave patterns might be similar," Michael concluded. "That could explain why she can use it and why she sometimes hears his voice. The ring might contain some kind of imprint of his thought patterns." Zuri's eyes widened. "So part of Grandpa is really in the ring?" "Not exactly," Michael explained, gently. "More like, the ring recognizes thoughts that are similar to his. When you think like your grandpa would, the ring responds." As they continued searching, Tiana found a small digital recorder at the bottom of the case. She pressed play, and Elijah's voice filled the storage unit. "Final notes on Project Connection," his recorded voice said. "The prototype responds well to focused intention, but requires significant mental discipline. Side effects include mild empathic poor resonance with nearby electronic systems. I've embedded safeguards to prevent overload, but prolonged use may lead to unpredictable energy fluctuations." Tiana and Michael exchanged concerned glances. "What does that mean?" Zuri asked. "I think," Michael said slowly, "your grandpa was warning that using the ring too much might make it harder to control." The recording continued. "Quantum dynamics wants to develop military applications. They don't understand the true potential. Human connection, not manipulation. I've decided to leave the company and take the prototype. I've modified it to respond only to Carter family brainwave patterns. It will be safer this way. There was a pause, then Elijah's voice softened. To whoever finds this, if you're listening, you must be family. The ring is not a weapon or a tool for personal gain. It's a connection, a bridge between thought and reality. Use it wisely, with love and purpose. That's the only way to master it, without being mastered by it. When the recording ended, Zuri had tears in her eyes. I miss him so much. Tiana hugged her daughter. Me too, sweetie. Michael studied one of the notebooks. According to these notes, the ring's abilities should be limited to moving small objects and enhancing cognitive processes related to mechanical systems. Elijah specifically designed it that way. But it seems to be getting stronger, Tiana said worriedly. Michael nodded. The question is why? Back at Michael's garage, they decided to test the ring's abilities in a controlled environment. Michael set up a workbench with various small objects, nuts, bolts, tools, and car parts. Try to move just the red screwdriver, he suggested to Zuri. Zuri concentrated, pointing her ring at the tool. It slid smoothly across the bench, stopping precisely at the edge. Good, Michael said. Now try the wrench, but move it more slowly. The wrench lifted slightly off the bench and hovered in midair for a few seconds before settling back down. Zuri's forehead was beaded with sweat. It makes me tired, she admitted. They tried more tests. Zuri could move heavier objects when she was emotionally invested, like when Michael challenged her to lift a car part she particularly cared about for the Shelby. She could also see inside complex mechanisms, describing parts hidden from view with perfect accuracy. Most surprisingly, when she touched broken electronics, they often started working again, as if the ring somehow repaired damaged connections. It's like the ring knows what's broken and how to fix it, Zuri explained. As the afternoon wore on, a black sedan parked across the street from the garage. A woman with gray hair and glasses sat inside, watching through binoculars. When she saw the blue glow of the ring through the garage windows, she picked up her phone. Dr. Reed? I've confirmed it. The Carter girl has Elijah's prototype, and it's fully functional. She paused, listening. Yes, much stronger than our estimates. She appears to have significant control already. Another pause. She's with Michael Jordan, of all people, at his private garage. She nodded. I'll continue surveillance. Reed Technologies will definitely want to acquire this technology. Inside the garage, unaware of being watched, Zuri laughed as she used the ring to sort tiny screws into perfect rows without touching them. This is actually fun when I'm not scared of it, she told Michael and her mother. Michael smiled, but his eyes were thoughtful. If Elijah had left quantum dynamics to protect his invention, who else might know about it? And what would they do to get their hands on the remarkable technology, now literally at Zuri's fingertips? The Shelby restorations made the local news the following week, a reporter doing a piece on O. Chicago Hobbies had recognized Michael at an auto parts store and asked for an interview. Basketball legend finds new passion in classic cars, the headline read. The article included a photo of Michael and Tony working on the Shelby, with Zuri visible in the background, pointing at something under the hood. Can you believe we're in the newspaper? Zuri exclaimed, proudly showing the article to her classmates. Even Jasmine seemed impressed, finally believing that Zuri really did work with Michael Jordan. But not all attention was welcome. 3 days after the article appeared, a sleek black Tesla pulled up outside Tiana's apartment building. A tall man with silver hair and an expensive suit stepped out, checking the address on his phone. Tiana was just returning from her shift when she noticed him standing near their entrance. "Can I help you?" she asked cautiously. The man turned, his face lighting up with recognition. "Tiana Carter, I'm Dr. Vance Reed. I was a colleague of your father-in-law's at Quantum Dynamics." Tiana tensed. "I'm sorry, Dr. Reed, but Elijah passed away 2 years ago." "Yes, I know. My condolences." His smile seemed practiced. "Actually, I was hoping to speak with you and your daughter. I saw the newspaper article about the car restoration project." He pulled out a copy of the newspaper. The photo had been enlarged, with Zuri's hand circled in red pen. Even in the grainy newspaper print, the unusual ring was visible on her finger. "That belongs to my daughter," Tiana said, her voice cooling. Dr. Reed nodded. "I recognize it. Elijah's final project before he left the company. I've been trying to track it down for years, purely for scientific documentation, of course." "I don't think Elijah would want his work documented," Tiana replied. "He was very private about his research." "Perhaps," Reed said smoothly, "but that ring represents groundbreaking technology. It could help countless people if properly developed. I'd be happy to explain its potential to you and your daughter. Maybe at that garage where she works with Mr. Jordan?" Tiana's protective instincts flared. "I'm sorry, Dr. Reed, but we're not interested. Good day." She quickly entered the building, closing the door firmly behind her. Once inside her apartment, Tiana called Michael. "Someone from Elijah's old company showed up asking about the ring," she explained, her voice tight with worry. "He knew about the garage too." "Did he mention what he wanted?" Michael asked. "He said something about documenting the technology, but I didn't trust him. Elijah left that company for a reason." "Stay there. I'll pick you both up for the weekend work session. Better to stay together until we understand what's going on." That night, Zuri had a vivid dream. She was standing in a lab filled with strange equipment. Her grandfather was there, younger than she'd ever seen him in photos, working at a desk. "Grandpa," she called out in the dream. Dream Elijah looked up, seeming to see her. "Be careful, Zuri. They're watching. The ring knows who to trust." Shatidi woke with a start, her ring glowing brightly in the dark bedroom. Something felt wrong. Moving to her window, Zuri peeked through the curtains. The black Tesla was parked across the street, a figure sitting inside. The next morning, Michael arrived early to drive them to the garage. He noticed the Tesla immediately. "Has that car been there all night?" he asked Tiana quietly. She nodded. "I think someone's watching us." At the garage, they found the side door unlocked, though Michael was certain he'd secured it. The night before. Inside, nothing seemed disturbed, but a strange tension hung in the air. The tools on Tony's workbench had been rearranged slightly. A cabinet that usually remained closed was ajar. "Someone's been here," Tony muttered, checking his specialized tools. "Nothing missing, but they definitely went through everything." Michael's security system had recorded nothing. The cameras had experienced a brief power outage during the night, just long enough for someone to enter and leave without being recorded. "This is getting scary," Tiana said. "Maybe we should go to the police." "And tell them what?" Michael asked. "That someone might be after a quantum technology ring? We'd sound crazy." "Besides," Zuri added, "Grandpa's recording said he made the ring respond only to our family. So even if someone took it, they couldn't use it, right?" Michael wasn't so sure. "They might be more interested in studying how it works than using it themselves." They worked on the Shelby all morning, trying to maintain normalcy despite their concerns. The car was nearly finished. The engine purred perfectly. The transmission shifted smoothly. And Tony was adding the final touches to the interior. "We'll have her road-ready next weekend," Tony announced proudly. "Just in time for the classic car show at Navy Pier." Michael nodded. "I've registered us already. It'll be the Shelby's big debut." Zuri's eyes widened. "We're taking it to a show? Will I get to come?" "Of course," Michael said. "You're the reason this restoration has gone so well. In fact, I have a surprise for you." He handed Zuri an envelope. Inside were 3 tickets to the Chicago Bulls game that night, with special VIP passes. "I thought we could celebrate how far we've come with the Shelby," Michael explained. "You'll be recognized during halftime for your contribution to the E2 restoration project." "Really? On the court? With the players and everything?" Zuri could hardly contain her excitement. "Really," Michael confirmed. "You deserve recognition for your amazing work." While Tiana and Michael discussed the details for that evening, Zuri wandered over to the Shelby. As she ran her hand lovingly over the gleaming fender, her ring caught on something. Checking to make sure no one was watching, she used the ring to see inside the car door. To her surprise, she found a tiny electronic device magnetically attached to the inner panel. It didn't belong there. It wasn't part of the car's original design or their restoration work. The ring pulsed warningly. Without fully understanding how she knew, Zuri recognized the device as a tracker. Someone had placed it there to monitor the car's movements. Carefully, Zuri removed the device and slipped it into her pocket. She didn't want to worry her mom or Michael right before the basketball game, but the discovery left her feeling uneasy. Her dream about Grandpa echoed in her mind. They're watching. The ring knows who to trust. The Chicago Bulls game was everything Zuri had dreamed of and more. During halftime, she stood center court beside Michael Jordan as the announcer's voice boomed through the arena. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Jordan's special guest, 10-year-old Zuri Carter." This young mechanical prodigy has been helping restore Michael's classic 1967 Shelby Mustang. The crowd cheered as Zuri's face appeared on the giant screens. She waved shyly, overwhelmed by the attention. Tiana watched proudly from special courtside seats. "How does it feel being the youngest restoration specialist in Chicago?" the announcer asked, holding a microphone to Zuri. "Pretty awesome," she replied with a grin. "But I couldn't have done it without my grandpa, teaching me everything he knew about cars." The crowd applauded again. As Michael led Zuri back to their seats, he noticed her constantly checking her pocket. "Everything okay?" he asked quietly. Zuri hesitated, then pulled out the small tracking device she'd found in the Shelby. "I found this hidden in the car. Dr. Today," she whispered. "I think someone's spying on us." Michael's expression darkened as he examined the device. "You were right not to leave this in the car. We'll talk about it after the game." Throughout the second half, Zuri couldn't fully enjoy the excitement. She felt eyes on her. Scanning the crowd, she noticed a familiar figure several rows back, the silver-haired man who had approached her mother. Dr. Reed was watching her through binoculars, focusing not on the game, but on her hand with the ring. Back at Michael's house after the game, Zuri showed Tiana the tracking device. "I knew that Reed guy was trouble," Tiana said, pacing the living room. "First he shows up at our apartment, then someone breaks into the garage, and now this?" Michael examined the device carefully. "This is military-grade tracking technology. Not something an ordinary person could get." "What does he want?" Zuri asked, twisting her ring nervously. "The ring, obviously," Michael replied. But why now? After all these years? Tiana sat beside her daughter. Maybe because it's becoming more active. You said yourself it seems stronger lately. Zuri's ring pulsed as if in agreement. Absent-mindedly, she twisted it on her finger, and to everyone's surprise, a small compartment opened in the band. "Whoa!" Zuri exclaimed. "I didn't know it could do that!" Inside the tiny compartment was a folded piece of paper, no bigger than a postage stamp. Michael carefully removed it with tweezers and unfolded it under a magnifying glass. Written in microscopic handwriting were a set of coordinates and the words, "For safekeeping, EC." Coordinates? Tiana leaned closer. To what? Michael entered the numbers into his phone's map application. It's an address about 30 miles outside Chicago. Looks like an old industrial area. "We have to go there," Zuri said immediately. "Grandpa left this for a reason." "It could be dangerous," Tiana warned, "especially with Dr. Reed watching. Us. Which is exactly why we need to go before he figures out about these coordinates," Michael pointed out. "If Elijah hid something important there, we should find it before Reed does." They decided to leave the next morning. The Shelby was almost ready for its debut at the Classic Car Show the following weekend. What better way to test it than a Tati drive to the mysterious coordinates? As dawn broke over Chicago, Michael arrived at Tiana's apartment in the newly completed Shelby, its engine purring like a contented lion. The dark green paint gleamed in the early morning light, and the chrome trim sparkled. It was truly a masterpiece of restoration. "She's beautiful," Tiana whispered as they came downstairs. Zuri ran her hand lovingly over the hood. "Grandpa would have been so proud." They set off, Michael driving with Tiana in the passenger seat and Zuri in the back, ring glowing softly on her finger. The car performed flawlessly as they left the city behind, a testament to their months of hard work. "We should be there in about 40 minutes, Michael said, checking the navigation. The coordinates point to what looks like an abandoned warehouse. As they drove, Zuri studied the ring more carefully. Now that she knew about the hidden compartment, she wondered what other secrets it might hold. Concentrating, she could feel subtle ridges and patterns on the inside of the band. When she pressed them in different sequences, the ring responded with varying pulses of light. "Mom, look!" she called, discovering that one particular sequence made a second, even smaller compartment appear. Inside was a tiny microchip, smaller than a grain of rice. "What is it?" Tiana asked. Zuri shrugged. "I don't know, but it feels important." They were so focused on the ring that none of them noticed the black Tesla following at a distance. The warehouse, when they finally reached it, looked abandoned and forgotten. Weeds grew through cracks in the concrete parking lot, and most of the windows were boarded up. A faded sign read, "Carter Engineering, Private Property." "Carter Engineering?" Tiana said in surprise. Elijah never mentioned owning a company. Maybe this was before he joined Quantum Dynamics, Michael suggested, as he parked the Shelby near the main entrance. The front door was securely locked, but when Zuri approached with her ring, the electronic O keypad beside the door lit up. The key ring pulsed, and the door clicked open. "Now, that's what I call a key," Michael said with a low whistle. Inside, the warehouse was mostly empty except for a single room at the back. Unlike the dusty main floor, this room was clean and well-preserved. Filing cabinets lined one wall, and a large desk dominated the center space. On the desk sat an old computer and a sealed envelope addressed to the next keeper. With trembling fingers, Zuri opened the envelope. Inside was a letter in her grandfather's handwriting. "To the next keeper," she read aloud. "If you're reading this, you've discovered the ring's secret compartment and followed the coordinates here. Well done. This was my first workshop, where I developed the early prototypes of what would become the connection ring. The ring you wear is the culmination of my life's work, a device that bridges thought and reality through quantum entanglement. But its true purpose is not to move objects or see through a metal. Those are merely side effects of its primary function: to teach its wearer about connection, responsibility, and the power of human intention. In the filing cabinets, you'll find all my research. Keep it safe from those who would use it for control, rather than connection. The ring has chosen you because your heart is worthy of its power. Remember, the greatest technology is worthless without wisdom to guide it. With love and faith in you, Elijah Carter." As Zuri finished reading, they heard a car door slam outside. "We've got company," Michael said, peering through a dusty window. Dr. Reed and two men in suits. Tiana quickly gathered the most important-looking files. "We need to get out of here now." Zuri's ring pulsed urgently, as if agreeing with her mother's assessment. But as they turned to leave, they heard the main door open and footsteps entering the warehouse. The ring glowed brighter than ever before, and Zuri suddenly knew exactly what they needed to do. "There's another way out," Zuri whispered urgently. "The ring is showing me." Michael and Tiana exchanged quick glances but didn't hesitate. They had learned to trust Zuri's connection with the mysterious technology. Zuri led them to what appeared to be a solid wall behind a filing cabinet. "Help me move this," she said, pushing against the heavy metal cabinet. Together, they slid it aside, revealing a hidden panel with a small indent shaped exactly like Zuri's ring. She pressed her hand against it, and the wall slid open silently, revealing a narrow passageway. "Your grandfather thought of everything," Michael murmured as they slipped through the opening. The passage led to a small garage containing a workbench covered with tools and half-finished projects. Dusty tarps covered what looked like vehicle prototypes in various stages of completion. "Look at all this," Tiana whispered. "Elijah had a whole secret life here." "We can explore later," Michael said, hearing voices from the main warehouse, growing closer. "Right now, we need to get out without being seen." The garage had its own door leading outside, to the back of the property. It opened onto an overgrown dirt road that curved around behind the warehouse. "If we can circle back to the Shelby without them noticing," Michael began. "Too late," Tiana said, pointing. Through the trees, they could see one of Reed's men standing guard by the classic car. Zuri bit her lip, thinking hard. "The Shelby's the only way we can all escape together. We need a distraction." Her ring pulsed brightly as an idea formed. Concentrating, she pointed toward an old shed at the far side of the property. The ring shot a beam of blue light, and seconds later, the shed's rusted metal roof collapsed with a tremendous crash. "Now!" Michael shouted as Reed and his men rushed toward the noise. They ran for the Shelby, Michael sliding behind the wheel, while Tiana and Zuri jumped in. The engine roared to life, and they sped away, kicking up gravel. In the rearview mirror, Zuri could see Dr. Reed running back toward his Tesla, shouting at his men. "He's following us," she warned. "Let him try," Michael said grimly, shifting gears as they hit the main road. "The Shelby might be a classic, but we've made some modern improvements to the engine." The powerful car surged forward, putting distance between them and their pursuers. Tiana clutched the files they'd managed to grab, while Zuri held tight to her grandfather's letter. "What did you find in those filing cabinets?" Michael asked, keeping his eyes on the road. Tiana quickly flipped through the documents. Blueprints, research notes, something called Project Connection, and look at this. She held up a photograph of a younger Elijah standing with a research team. A much younger Dr. Reed was among them, looking enviously at something Elijah was holding. "Is that the ring?" Zuri asked, leaning forward. "An early version, I think," Tiana replied. According to these notes, Elijah created several prototypes before making the final version, the one you're wearing. Michael checked the mirrors again. "The Tesla is gaining on us. That thing has some serious acceleration." Zuri looked down at her ring, which was pulsing urgently. I think the ring wants to help. The Shelby." "What do you mean?" Michael asked. "It's like when I fix things in the garage. The ring shows me what's wrong and how to make it better, but bigger this time." Before either adult could respond, Zuri placed her ringed hand on the Shelby's dashboard. Blue light spread from her fingers, flowing through the car like electric currents. The engine note changed, deepening into a powerful roar, and the speedometer needle jumped. "Whoa!" Michael exclaimed as the car surged forward with unexpected power. "What did you do?" "The ring optimized the engine," Zuri explained, somehow understanding exactly what had happened. "It fixed things we didn't even know needed fixing." The Shelby pulled away from the Tesla, its enhanced engine performing beyond all expectations. By the time they reached the outskirts of Chicago, they had lost their pursuers completely. "We should head straight to the police," Tiana suggested. Michael shook his head. "And tell them what? That a corporate executive is chasing us because of a quantum technology ring? We need more concrete evidence of wrongdoing." "So where do we go?" Tiana asked. "My house," Michael decided. "It has a good security system, and we can look through these files properly." At Michael's luxurious lakeside home, they spread Elijah's documents across the dining table. Hours passed as they pieced together the story of Project Connection and Dr. Reed's involvement. According to these notes, Tiana said, Reed was always pushing to weaponize the technology. He wanted to create devices that could manipulate matter from a distance for military applications. But Grandpa believed it should help people connect, not control things. Zuri added, reading from another document. Michael studied a technical diagram. This explains why Reed is so interested in the ring now. Elijah took all the research when he left, and the only working prototype is the one Zuri has. Without it, Reed can't recreate the technology. "So what do we do?" Tiana asked. "We can't keep running forever." Zuri had been quiet, studying her grandfather's letter again. "There's something here I missed before," she said suddenly. "Look at this last line. The power was never in the ring, but in the hands that wore it." "What do you think it means?" Michael asked. "I'm not sure," Zuri admitted. "But I think Grandpa was trying to tell me something important about how the ring actually works." As evening fell, they decided to stay at Michael's house for the night. The Shelby was safely locked in the garage, and the security system was armed. Yet, despite these precautions, none of them could shake the feeling that this wasn't over. In the guest bedroom, Zuri lay awake, turning her grandfather's cryptic message over in her mind. The ring glowed softly in the darkness, pulsing like a heartbeat. She held it up, watching. The blue light cast shadows on the ceiling. "What were you trying to tell me, Grandpa?" she whispered. As if in answer, the ring projected a faint holographic image onto the wall, a complex diagram showing how the ring connected to its wearer. At the center was not the ring itself, but a human heart. Zuri sat up in bed, understanding dawning. "It's not the ring," she breathed. "It's me. It's always been me." Zuri barely slept that night, her mind racing with the implications of her discovery. When morning came, she rushed to share what she'd learned with Michael and her mother. "The meteor ring doesn't have power on its own," she explained excitedly over breakfast. "It's like a tool that helps focus what's already inside me." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "That makes sense. Your grandfather's notes mentioned thought amplification rather than independent power. So the abilities were Zuri's all along?" Tiana asked, looking confused. "Not exactly," Michael said. "Think of it like prescription glasses. They don't give you new eyes, they just help your existing eyes see better. The ring helps Zuri use abilities that might be dormant in all of us." Zuri twisted the ring on her finger. "That's why it responds differently to me than it would to anyone else. Grandpa designed it to work with our family's brainwaves, but it's amplifying what's already there." Their discussion was interrupted by the security system's alert. On the monitor, they saw Dr. Reed's black Tesla pulling into the driveway. "How did he find us?" Tiana gasped. Michael checked the Shelby in the garage via another camera. "The EAT's tracking device. We found one, but he must have planted a backup." Dr. Reed stepped out of his car alone, hands raised to show he wasn't armed. "I just want to talk," he called toward the house, clearly aware of the security cameras. "We can't hide forever," Michael said after a moment. "Maybe we should hear what he has to say." "Are you crazy?" Tiana protested. "The man broke into your garage and chased us." "I'll meet him outside," Michael decided. "You two stay here where it's safe." Zuri clutched her mother's hand as they watched through the window. Michael stepped onto the front porch, keeping the door closed behind him. "That's close enough, Dr. Reed," he called when the older man approached the steps. "Mr. Jordan," Reed said with a tight smile, "I apologize for the misunderstanding yesterday. My security team can be overzealous." "You call breaking and entering a misunderstanding?" Michael crossed his arms. Reed sighed. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I simply want to discuss Elijah. Carter's technology that rightfully belongs to quantum dynamics, now Reed Technologies. That's not how Elijah saw it," Michael replied, "and it's not your decision to make." Inside, Zuri's ring began to pulse warningly. Something felt wrong. Focusing her mind like she'd practiced in the garage, she looked beyond what her eyes could see. To her shock, she detected two more men hiding behind Michael's garage, armed with what looked like tranquilizer guns. "Mom!" she whispered urgently. "He's lying! There are men with guns hiding outside." Tiana's eyes widened. "We need to warn Michael." But before they could act, Reed made a subtle hand signal. The hidden men emerged, weapons raised. One fired, hitting Michael with a dart that made him stagger. "Michael!" Tiana screamed, forgetting caution. Reed's head snapped toward the window. "Ah, there you are," he said smoothly. "Please join us. Ms. Carter, bring Zuri and the ring. Otherwise, my associate will administer a second dose to Mr. Jordan, which could be problematic for his health." Michael was on his knees now, fighting the sedative. "Don't come out," he managed to say. "He wants the ring." Tiana looked frantically around the room. "The back door," she whispered to Zuri. "We can get to the Shelby through the kitchen entrance to the garage." They slipped through the house quietly. Through the kitchen window, Zuri could see one of Reed's men circling toward the back. They didn't have much time. "The ring is showing me something," Zuri whispered as they reached the garage door. "I can create a distraction." Concentrating hard, she pointed her ring at Reed's Tesla. Blue energy pulsed from her fingertips, and suddenly the car's alarm began blaring and its lights flashing wildly. "Now!" Tiana said, pulling open the garage door. They sprinted to the Shelby. Tiana jumped into the driver's seat, thanking her lucky stars that Michael had insisted on teaching her how to drive the classic car, just in case. "What about Michael?" Zuri asked as the garage door began to open automatically. "We'll lead them away, then call for help," Tiana assured her, starting the powerful engine. As they pulled out, they saw Reed's men rushing toward the blaring Tesla. Reed himself still stood over Michael, who was now struggling to his feet, fighting through the sedative's effects. Tiana gunned the engine, sending the Shelby rocketing down the driveway. One of Reed's men fired a dart at them, but it bounced harmlessly off the car's bodywork. "He's following us!" Zuri cried, looking back to see Reed running to his men's unmarked van. "Let him," Tiana said grimly, shifting gears as they hit the main road. What followed was a desperate chase through Chicago's northern suburbs. Tiana drove with unexpected skill, but Reed's van was closing the gap. Each time they thought they'd lost him, he reappeared, as if the Shelby itself was being tracked. There must be another tracker, Zuri realized. She placed her hand on the dashboard, using her ring to scan the car. There, under the passenger seat. Reaching down, she found a magnetic device similar to the one she'd discovered earlier. She was about to throw it out the window when an idea struck her. "Mom, I know where we need to go." "Where?" Tiana asked, swerving to avoid a delivery. "Truck! The warehouse. Grandpa's warehouse. The ring is showing me something important. There. Something that can stop Reed." Tiana hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Tell me which way." As they raced toward the warehouse, the van still in pursuit, Zuri closed her eyes, focusing on her connection to the ring. In her mind, she could see her grandfather's smiling face. "Remember," his voice seemed to whisper, "the ring doesn't give power, it reveals it." When they reached the warehouse, Reed's van was only seconds behind. Tiana skidded to a stop near the hidden garage entrance Zuri had discovered the day before. "Quick!" Zuri said, jumping out and pressing her ring to the concealed panel. The door slid open just as Reed's van pulled up. "Inside! Now!" Tiana shouted, grabbing the research files they'd taken earlier. As the door began to close behind them, Reed leaped from the van and managed to slip through the narrowing gap. "End of the line," he said, breathing hard. "Give me the ring, and no one gets hurt." Zuri stepped in front of her mother, the ring glowing brighter than ever before. "You don't understand what the ring really is, Dr. Reed. Grandpa never told you the truth." Reed's eyes narrowed. "And what truth is that, child?" Zuri smiled, suddenly confident. "The ring isn't the source of power. It never was." Dr. Reed's eyebrows rose in disbelief. "What nonsense is this? I worked with Elijah for years. I know exactly what that ring can do." "No," Zuri said calmly. "You know what you think it can do. Grandpa never told you everything." Reed's face hardened. "Enough games. Give me the ring now, or my men outside will make sure your friend Mr. Jordan has an unfortunate accident." Tiana stepped forward protectively, but Zuri gently moved in front of her mother. The ring isn't a weapon, Dr. Reed. It's a teacher. Zuri held up her hand, the ring glowing with soft blue light. Grandpa designed it to help me understand something. Important. Something you never understood. And what might that be? Reed asked with a condescending smile. That real power comes from inside us, from love and connection, not control. As Zuri spoke, the ring's glow spread up her arm. The ring just helps me see what was always there. Reed laughed sharply. Touching philosophy, but quantum dynamics spent millions developing that technology. It doesn't belong to a child. Actually, came a voice from behind them, it doesn't belong to anyone. They all turned to see Michael standing in the doorway, looking unsteady but determined. Behind him were Tony and 2 police officers. "Michael!" Tiana exclaimed. "How did you—" "The tracking device Zuri found," Michael explained with a tired smile. "I put it in my pocket. Figured it might come in handy." Reed's confident expression faltered as the officers stepped forward. "Dr. Vance Reed," one officer said, "we have reports of breaking and entering, assault, and attempted kidnapping. You'll need to come with us." "This is ridiculous," Reed sputtered. "I'm a respected businessman. That ring is stolen corporate property." "Actually," said Tony, holding up a tablet, "I just sent these officers all of Elijah Carter's original patents. The ring was his personal invention, developed before he joined quantum dynamics. You have no legal claim to it." As the officers handcuffed a protesting Reed, Zuri turned to the Shelby, which was now inside the warehouse garage. Something was still bothering her. Something about the car and her grandfather's final message. Placing her hand on the Shelby's hood, she closed her eyes. The ring pulsed gently, and suddenly she could see inside the car in a way she never had before. Not just the mechanical parts, but something else, a hidden compartment behind the dashboard. "Michael," she called excitedly, "there's something in the Shelby, behind the radio." Michael came over, looking curious. Together they removed the dashboard panel, revealing a small metal box. It was locked, but when Zuri touched it with her ring, it clicked open. Inside was a letter and a flash drive. The letter, in Elijah's handwriting, was short. "To whoever finds this, if you're reading this, you've discovered the true purpose of the connection ring. The technology isn't meant to control the physical world, but to help us connect with what matters most, each other. On this drive is evidence of how Reed attempted to weaponize my research and the reason I left quantum dynamics. Use it wisely. Elijah." One of the officers took the flash drive, promising to review its contents as evidence. Outside, Reed's men had been apprehended as well. As Reed was led to a police car, he turned to Zuri with a bitter expression. "You have no idea what that ring is capable of," he called. "The things it could do, the power it contains." "That's where you're wrong," Zuri replied. "I know exactly what it can do and what it can't." After the police left with Reed, Michael, Tiana, and Zuri sat in the warehouse, finally able to relax. "So, if the ring isn't magic," Michael asked, "how do you explain everything it's done? The moving objects, the enhanced perception, hearing your grandfather's voice?" Zuri looked thoughtfully at the ring. "It's not that the ring isn't special, it is. Grandpa created something amazing, a device that amplifies what's already inside us. The telekinesis came from me, but I needed the ring to access it. The mechanical knowledge was already in my head, from everything Grandpa taught me, but the ring helped me see it clearly. And hearing his voice? Tiana asked gently. Zuri smiled. That was the most special part. The ring doesn't contain his consciousness or anything sci-fi like that, but it does have recordings of his voice patterns and his knowledge about cars. When I need guidance, the ring helps me remember what he taught me, in his voice. Michael nodded slowly. So, the magic was never in the ring, Zuri finished. It was in me all along, in my connection to Grandpa, in the knowledge he shared with me, in my love for fixing things. 2 weeks later, the Shelby took first place at the Chicago Classic Car Show. Michael, Tiana, and Zuri stood proudly beside it as photographers snapped pictures and admirers oohed and ahed over the perfect restoration. I can't believe we actually finished it, Zuri said, running her hand lovingly over the gleaming fender. We did more than that, Michael replied. We uncovered corporate espionage, solved the mystery of your grandfather's research, and learned the true meaning of connection. Speaking of connection, Tiana added, the ring seems different now. It was true. Since the confrontation with Reed, the ring no longer glowed constantly or moved objects dramatically. Instead, it pulsed with a soft, steady light, more like a heartbeat than a power source. It's not different, Zuri explained. I'm different. I understand now what Grandpa wanted me to learn. As the crowds milled around them, Michael knelt beside Zuri. And what was that? Zuri smiled, touching the ring gently. That magic isn't about controlling things outside yourself. It's about understanding what's inside you, your knowledge, your memories, your connections to people you love. Later, as they drove the award-winning Shelby back to Michael's garage, Zuri sat in the back seat, watching the city lights blur past. The ring glowed softly on her finger, not with otherworldly power, but with the warm light of understanding. She thought she heard her grandfather's voice just for a moment saying, "Well done, Zuri. You figured it out." But this time, she knew it wasn't the ring creating the voice. It was her own heart, remembering. The man who had taught her that the greatest magic of all was believing in yourself. The ring was just a ring, a special one, certainly, but just a tool. The real magic had been in Zuri's hands all along. Thanks for joining us for this heartwarming story about Zuri, Michael Jordan, and the magical ring. We'd love to know where you're listening from, so drop your location in the comments trantours below. If you enjoyed this tale of friendship, courage, and discovering the power within, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us spread kindness and positive stories to more people around the world. Ready for another adventure? Click on the video appearing on your screen right now to continue the journey. Until next time, remember that the real magic is always inside you.